Air Force One touched down at Joint Base Andrews, its landing marked by the sharp echo of engines and the disciplined motion of military crews on the tarmac. As the aircraft came to a halt, the door opened and US President Donald J. Trump appeared, descending the steps with his characteristic composure. The moment was brisk, deliberate, and charged with ceremony, a routine arrival that nonetheless carried the weight and spectacle of presidential theatre. He walked across the runway toward a small group of airmen and officials waiting to receive him. Cameras flashed as he paused, glancing up toward the sky where the roar of accompanying jets still lingered faintly. Turning to the assembled personnel, he broke into a half smile and said with audible pride, "Was that the greatest flyover ever?" "Nobody's ever done a flyover like that," gesturing toward the Air Force One pilots standing nearby. He added with emphasis, "So these are the best pilots in the world. They say whoever flies Air Force One are the best pilots, and we just saw that. That was great." The remark drew approving nods and brief applause from those gathered, a spontaneous acknowledgement of the precision and pageantry that had unfolded moments earlier. It was a statement that resonated beyond simple praise. For Trump, this was more than admiration for a flight crew. It was a reaffirmation of a broader message that American excellence, particularly in the military and aerospace domains, remains unrivaled. The president's tone carried both affection and conviction, underscoring his long-standing belief that the strength of the United States rests on the skill and dedication of those who serve under its flag. Nearby, Secret Service agents held their positions as the motorcade idled in formation. Yet Trump, characteristically unhurried, remained engaged with the airmen, exchanging quick words and gesturing toward the sky once more. The interaction was brief but symbolic, a tableau of command and respect. The president was en route to an NFL game in Maryland, marking a notable first in decades. He was the first sitting US president to attend a regular season football game since Jimmy Carter in 1978. The occasion combined political theater with public spectacle, timed amid heightened attention on Washington's ongoing political gridlock. The nation was deep in the throes of the longest government shutdown in its history, with federal agencies partially closed and hundreds of thousands of employees furloughed. When asked about the shutdown, Trump responded in his familiar, confident tone. "We're going to have a good game," he said, smiling at reporters. "Things are going along very well. The country's doing well. The Democrats have to open it up." That closing line, "The Democrats have to open it up," was both political and performative, a soundbite aimed squarely at his opposition as negotiations over federal funding remained deadlocked on Capitol Hill. Even in this informal setting, the president turned an otherwise ceremonial moment into a platform to reinforce his stance. For those observing, the contrast was striking. Across the country, flight cancellations and delays were disrupting travel plans due to reduced staffing and logistical challenges tied to the shutdown. Yet at Andrews, the president was celebrating a flawless aerial display, the greatest flyover ever. The juxtaposition spoke to Trump's distinctive approach: celebrate strength and spectacle even in times of strain, amplify confidence where others see contradiction. His admiration for the Air Force and its pilots has been a consistent hallmark of his presidency. Whether visiting overseas bases or speaking at home installations, he often described American service members as the finest in the world. That morning's comments at Andrews fit seamlessly into that pattern, part morale building, part national pride, part political message. As Trump walked toward his vehicle, he paused once more to greet a pilot, shaking hands firmly before climbing into the armored SUV that would take him to the stadium. The choreography of the event, the salute, the applause, the cameras capturing every gesture, was as deliberate as it was familiar. For this president, image and message were inseparable. The praise for his pilots, though spontaneous in tone, reflected a careful instinct for framing power through patriotism. Throughout the day, footage of the flyover and his remarks dominated coverage across television and social media. Supporters hailed his tribute as a moment of genuine appreciation for America's servicemen. Critics, meanwhile, noted the irony of the president celebrating aviation precision while the shutdown continued to cripple civilian air travel. Yet in the broader narrative of Trump's public persona, both interpretations served his purpose: attention and control over the message. The sound of his voice, and sharp, declarative, unapologetic, carried through every clip shared online. The lines, Was that the greatest flyover ever? And they're the best in the world were replayed repeatedly, transformed into headlines and sound bites. For Trump, whose political communication has always thrived on memorable phrasing, it was another instance of turning ordinary remarks into symbols of leadership. By afternoon, his motorcade reached the Washington Commanders' home stadium, where tens of thousands of spectators awaited kickoff. The presidential flyover, pre-arranged with military precision, passed directly above the arena just as the crowd roared in anticipation. Inside, reactions were mixed. Cheers from supporters, scattered boos from detractors, but the event had already achieved its intended effect. The image of a sitting president publicly visible, commanding both spectacle and attention. Analysts later noted the historical significance. The sight of a US president at a regular season NFL game had not occurred in nearly 5 decades, making it as much a political statement as a sporting appearance. For Trump, who often measures leadership through visibility and motion, it was a demonstration of presence, proof that even amid political paralysis, the executive branch moved with confidence. As night fell and Air Force One prepared for departure, the same pilots Trump had lauded earlier readied the aircraft for its return flight. The runway lights shimmered faintly against the dark horizon as the president made his way back across the tarmac. Before boarding, he turned to the flight crew once more. "You guys were fantastic," he said, flashing a brief grin. "Nobody flies like you." The exchange was brief but telling. It reflected a consistent pattern, the blending of gratitude, performance, and assertion. For Trump, moments like these serve not only to thank, but also to reinforce a narrative of control and excellence. Every compliment becomes a declaration that the system under his leadership is functioning at its best. When Air Force One lifted into the night sky, its engines cut through the still air with seamless precision. Below, the runway faded into a sequence of blinking lights as the aircraft ascended eastward, its silhouette fading into the clouds. Inside, the president settled into his cabin, his words from earlier now looping across news cycles nationwide. "They're the best in the world," he had said, a line that encapsulated both his admiration for the crew and his instinct for messaging. To supporters, it was a salute to American excellence. To critics, it was another instance of his showmanship. But for the pilots who guided him home, it was simple recognition from their commander-in-chief. The scene at Joint Base Andrews, framed against the turbulence of politics, distilled the essence of Trump's presidency: dramatic, polarizing, and meticulously orchestrated. Every element, from the roar of the jet to the cadence of his words, reinforced a single image: a leader who equates strength with spectacle and loyalty with proof of American greatness. In that sense, the day's events were more than a ceremonial passage. They were a statement of identity. The president's arrival, his praise, and his parting words all formed one continuous message: that even amid division and dysfunction, the symbols of power and precision endure. And as Air Force One vanished into the night sky, its path marked by faint traces of light, his words remained suspended in the air, part tribute, part declaration, and wholly characteristic: "They're the best in the world."